Representative Jackson. I now recognize Representative Schneider for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the witnesses for joining us. I want to commend my colleague in noting the return of all the living hostages. It's also important to note that one hostage, Ron Gvili, still remains in Gaza, and we all pray for his swift return. As an American Jew, Israel's security and the security of the Jewish people writ large has always been a central concern for me. I've always believed that the best way to ensure Israel's safe and secure future as a Jewish, democratic state is to open, and to move down a path for peaceful coexistence of Jews and Arabs living together, which, by the way, is the vision of the Abraham Accords that I think all of us celebrate, and I'm proud to be a co-chair of the Abraham Accords caucus. Jews, Muslims, and Christians all trace their stories to the same hills and cities. Israelis and Palestinians, on the other hand, only come into being at the same moment on May 14th, 1948. The reason I think the Abraham Accords are potentially so transformational is that for the first time, the Accords put into a formal document the idea that both the Jewish people and the Arab people belong to the same land. That by finding a way to live together on that land with mutual recognition and respect, Jews and Arabs can finally break free from the gravity of history that has held them back for so long and chart a new path for integration, security, prosperity, and peace for all the people living in the region. As an American Jew, I was raised and I will always be a Zionist, holding fast to the Jewish people's aspiration and right to a state in the historical homeland of the Jewish people. That doesn't mean the denial or the dismissal of the Palestinians' similar aspirations, which is why I believe that peace includes ultimately a negotiated two-state solution. The Jewish democratic state of Israel living in security, prosperity, and peace with a demilitarized Palestinian state. Not something that will be there tomorrow, not even in the near horizon, but something out in the future, which is why I oppose unilateral annexation. President Trump has also said plainly that he will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. Vice President Vance backed him up, stating the policy of this administration is the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. Secretary Rubio has warned that record levels of settler violence in the West Bank risk derailing the Gaza ceasefire and the 20-point plan that bears President Trump's name. Even Ambassador Huckabee, who proudly calls this land Judea and Samaria, has also highlighted settler violence, real, actual settler violence, following attacks in Teba. My question, I'll start with you, Mr. Klein. Why is it, can you explain your disagreement with President Trump's firm opposition to unilateral Israel annexation of the West Bank?
The 60% of the territory that is not under Israel's administrative control contains almost no Arabs. And the thought of establishing yet another terrorist state is just...
We can agree we will not and must not allow the establishment of a terrorist state. Mr. Kantorovich, why do you disagree with President Trump's position, Vice President Vance's, Ambassador Huckabee's position, opposing unilateral annexation?
Yeah, so I don't think the position's been accurately characterized. Nobody in Israel is talking about annexing the West Bank. There have been proposals to extend Israeli civil law to those areas where Jewish communities are, in other words, to incorporate under Israeli law parts of Judea and Samaria. President Trump's plan is consistent with his 2020 vision for peace, where Israel would, in fact, expand Israeli civil jurisdiction specifically to those areas, and it seems his comments were simply a reaffirmation of that. That's how I understand it.
To be fair, I think his comments were clear. There will not be annexation was, I believe,
of
exactly
the West Bank.
Thank you. Dr. Alterman, let me turn to you. As we're looking to the prospects for the future, the Abraham Accords, which were signed in 2020, I was privileged to be on the White House lawn for that signing, faced a severe test in the war over the last 2 years, but it survived that test. It upheld the test. The relations remain and the possibility remains for the future. In the last 30 seconds, can you touch on why it's so important to preserve the path to peace and the opening that the Abraham Accords provided?
I think for real security reasons, economic reasons, psychic reasons, an Israel that is genuinely embedded in its region is an Israel that is profoundly more secure, more prosperous, and where Jews and Arabs alike can live side by side in peace and security.
Thank you. And just in closing, if you'll indulge me, Chairman, Abraham Accords are opening a new possibility to the entire region, but it is beyond the region. We can look at the India, Middle East corridors that are providing prospects for a broader region from India through the Middle East onto Europe. We need to hold that onto those possibilities, and we need to ensure this moment that is a historical moment, not of 100 years, but I would argue of history, to find a path to peace has to be reserved, and we have to work together to keep that open and move down that path. I yield back.
I now recognize Representative Kane for 5 minutes.